I want you to think back to a specific moment. You were with a woman. The mood was right. You wanted it. She wanted it. Everything was pointing in the same direction. And then your body didn't show up. Maybe it started and then disappeared. Maybe it never quite got there at all. And in that moment, time slowed down. You became very aware of what wasn't happening. And then the mental scramble started. You shifted position. You tried to stay calm. You told yourself to relax, which of course made everything worse. And somewhere in that room, you made an excuse. You said something, or you went quiet. And she said it was fine, but you didn't feel fine. And if I know anything about men, and after a decade as a sex therapist, I believe I do. I know what you told yourself afterward. You told yourself this was about your age, that this was just what happens now, that maybe this is who you are at this point in your life. I need you to hear me clearly right now. That story you told yourself, it is not true. What happened in that room was not an age problem. It was not a you problem. It was a pattern. A very specific, very identifiable, very reversible pattern. And today I am going to walk you through exactly what that pattern is, why it keeps happening, and the one approach that interrupts it every single time. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you is not what you'll hear from most doctors. It's what I've told men privately in my office for over a decade now. And it changes things. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed that this problem, this disappearing erection, doesn't happen when you're alone? That when there's no pressure, no audience, no moment to perform, your body works just fine? There's a reason for that. And it has nothing to do with your testosterone levels or your blood pressure or your age. Here's what's actually happening. The moment a man over 50 becomes aware, even slightly, aware that he might not perform, something shifts in his brain, and it happens fast, within seconds. His mind moves from what I call experience mode into something completely different. I call it spectator mode. In experience mode, you are inside the moment. You're feeling. You're present. Your nervous system is relaxed and engaged, and your body responds naturally. But the second a worry enters, even a small one, even a flicker of, I hope this works, you step outside yourself. You become an observer. You start watching yourself instead of experiencing yourself. You're monitoring, checking, evaluating. And that mental shift, that move from participant to spectator, is the exact moment your body starts to disconnect. I call this the spectator switch. And once you understand it, you'll start to recognize the exact moment it happens. Now here's what makes this especially frustrating. The spectator switch doesn't just affect you in the moment. It builds a pattern over time. Every time it happens and you don't address it, your brain files that experience away, and the next time you're in a sexual situation, your brain remembers. It starts anticipating. So now, before anything has even happened, your nervous system is already on low-level alert, already bracing, already watching. And here's the cruel irony. The one thing your body needs to produce and sustain an erection is complete nervous system relaxation, the parasympathetic state, the rest and digest response. That is the biological prerequisite for arousal. But anxiety, even mild anticipatory anxiety, activates the exact opposite system, the sympathetic nervous system, the fight or flight response. And when that system is running, blood moves away from the genitals and toward the large muscle groups. Your body is preparing to survive a threat, not make love to a woman. So what you've been experiencing is not weakness. It's not failure. It is your nervous system doing exactly what nervous systems are designed to do, protecting you from perceived danger. The problem is, it can't tell the difference between a lion and a moment of sexual self-doubt. That's the mechanism. That's what's been happening. And now that you understand it, we can change it. I'm going to give you 4 precise tools, each one targeting a different point in the pattern. Together, they form a complete approach. The first tool works before sex even begins, and most men have no idea this window exists. There's a 30-minute period before sexual activity where your nervous system is already deciding which mode it's going into. Most men spend this window either ignoring it or unknowingly feeding their anxiety, replaying past experiences, mentally rehearsing potential failure, building pressure without realizing it. What I want you to do instead is deliberately shift your nervous system state in that window. Here's how. In the 30 minutes before intimacy, I want you to do something, anything, that absorbs your full attention in a pleasant, non-sexual way. A short walk, a few minutes of music you actually love, a brief conversation about something completely unrelated to sex. The goal is not relaxation in the passive sense. The goal is absorption. You want your mind fully occupied with something present and non-threatening. This works because it interrupts the anticipatory anxiety loop before it builds momentum. You're not giving your brain the space to start rehearsing failure. And then, this is the part most men skip. In the moments just before intimacy starts, I want you to bring your attention entirely into your body. Not your thoughts, your body, the physical sensation of the room, the temperature, the feeling of your own breathing, what you can feel in your hands, your chest, your skin. This is the on-ramp back into experience mode. You are practicing being a participant before the moment demands it of you. I've had men tell me this single shift, just this, changed everything for them. And it isn't because it's magic, it's because it interrupts the switch before it can happen. Now, even with the pre-game reset, the spectator switch can still happen because you've been running this pattern for a while, and patterns have momentum. So the second tool is for the moment the exact moment you feel yourself starting to watch yourself during sex. You'll know when it's happening. There's a quality to it, a slight pulling back, a thought that enters that sounds something like, is this working? Or am I going to lose it? Or even just a checking sensation, like you're looking down at yourself from a distance. The moment that happens, I want you to do one thing, one specific thing. Move your attention to sensation, not your thoughts, not your outcomes, not her reaction, but physical sensation. The warmth of her skin, the pressure of her body, what you can feel in this exact moment through touch. And here's the internal phrase I want you to use. Say it to yourself. Silently in that moment. I'm here. I'm feeling this. That's it. This isn't affirmation or positive thinking stuff. It's a redirect. You are pulling your attention back from the observation deck and dropping it back into your body. It sounds simple. It is simple. But simple is not the same as easy, and it is not the same as ineffective. This technique is rooted in what clinicians call sensate focus, one of the most well-researched and consistently effective approaches in sex therapy. The principle is this: you cannot be a spectator and a participant at the same time. When you choose sensation deliberately, you choose participation. And participation is where arousal lives. Practice it starting from the next time you're making out. The more you use it, the faster it works. Now I want to talk about what happens when it's already happening, when you feel the erection starting to fade mid-encounter. Because this is the moment most men handle in the worst possible way. The instinct, the almost universal male instinct in this moment, is to push through, to speed up, to try harder, to compensate with effort. And I understand that instinct, but I need you to understand why it makes things significantly worse. Pushing through sends a signal to your nervous system that something is wrong. It confirms the threat. It adds urgency to a system that already needs to slow down. You are essentially pressing harder on the accelerator when what the car needs is to briefly idle. What I want you to do instead is slow everything down, deliberately, smoothly, in a way that reads to her not as a problem, but as intention. Here's the specific move. Shift from whatever you're doing to focused, unhurried touch. Move to her. Use your hands, your mouth. Make it about her for 60 to 90 seconds, not as a cover-up, as a genuine. Shift in the dynamic. This accomplishes two things simultaneously. First, it removes the performance pressure from you in this exact moment, and when done with confidence and attention, it actually increases her arousal, which feeds yours. Your nervous system gets the brief neutral space it needs. She experiences heightened attention from you, and you return to the encounter from a lower pressure, more connected state. The key, and this is critical, is that this move must be made calmly and with intention, not frantically, not apologetically, confidently, like a man who knows exactly what he's doing. Because men who are skilled in the bedroom know that sex is not a straight line. It breathes, it shifts, it has texture. A man who moves fluidly between moments isn't losing control. He's demonstrating mastery. That is what she experiences it as. Trust me on that. The first 3 steps work in the moment. This one works at the level of the pattern itself. And if you've had this experience more than a few times, if it's become something you now carry into every sexual situation, then this step is the most important thing I'll tell you today. When the spectator switch happens repeatedly over time, the brain begins to associate sexual situations with anxiety rather than pleasure. This is a conditioned response. It is learned. And because it is learned, it can be unlearned. But it requires a specific approach. What I want you to do is create what I call low-stakes intimacy experiences. These are deliberate, intentional encounters with a partner or solo, where the explicit goal is not orgasm or erection, where those outcomes are completely off the table. I want you to spend time regularly, deliberately, in physical intimacy where nothing is expected to happen, where you are practicing the experience of being present in your body in a sexual or intimate context without any goal attached to it. This might feel counterintuitive. It might even feel frustrating at first. But here is what it's doing at the neurological level. It is breaking the automatic association between sexual context and performance threat. It is teaching your brain, through repeated experience, that intimate situations are safe, that your body is not on trial, that you are allowed to simply be there. Over time, and I mean over weeks, not months, this rewires the default response. The anticipatory anxiety begins to lose its grip. The spectator switch starts to happen less automatically, and eventually, For most men who commit to this, it stops being the first thing that happens when intimacy begins. I've watched this work for men in their 50s, their 60s, their 70s. Men who were convinced they were done. Men who had given up in ways they hadn't even fully admitted to themselves. The pattern broke. And it wasn't because something was wrong with them, but because they finally understood what the pattern was and addressed it directly. Now, I know what some of you are thinking right now. You're thinking, Valerie, this sounds good. I hear you. But what if I try all of this and it still happens? What do I do in that moment? That is the right question, and I'm going to answer it honestly. Sometimes, even when you've done everything right, it still happens. It's not that you failed. It's just that the pattern has history, and history takes time to fully dissolve. So here is what you do in that moment. You don't disappear into silence. You don't make a lengthy apology. You don't turn away from her. You stay present, and you say something simply calmly without drama. Something like, I want to take my time with you tonight, or simply pull her closer and continue being physically present without making the erection, or the absence of it, the center of the moment. What women tell me in my practice consistently across a decade is that the moment a man becomes emotionally absent is far more painful than any physical limitation. What she needs from you in that moment is your presence, your calm, your continued desire for her, not a perfect performance. A man who stays warm and connected through an imperfect moment is not a man who has failed. He is a man who is deeply secure. And that security is one of the most genuinely attractive things a woman can experience from a partner. The erection is not the relationship. Your presence is. Handle the moment with dignity and warmth. And most women, the ones worth being with, will never make you feel like less of a man for it. I want to leave you with something I tell the men who sit across from me in my practice. The men who master what I've shared with you today don't just have better sex. Something shifts in them at a deeper level. The confidence that comes from knowing, truly knowing, that you are not at the mercy of your anxiety, that your body is not your enemy, that you understand what's been happening and you know how to respond to it. That confidence doesn't stay in the bedroom. It changes how you carry yourself, how you walk into a room, how you hold eye contact, how a woman looks at you when you've said nothing at all. The men who do this work stop shrinking away from intimacy. They stop making excuses to avoid situations where sex might happen. They stop carrying that low-grade weight of dread that follows a man who doesn't understand his own pattern. And something else happens. Their partners feel it. Women are extraordinarily sensitive to a man's relationship with himself. When that relationship changes, when a man becomes genuinely at ease in his own body, she feels it, and she responds to it in ways that create a completely different cycle, a better one. You are not too old for this. You are not too far gone. You are a man who didn't have the right information. Now you do. Use it. Before I go, I want to tell you about something I've put together for the men who want to go deeper than what I can share here. I have a private weekly newsletter, and I'll be honest with you about what it is. This platform has limits. There are things I can't say here, things that are too specific, too raw, too practical for a public video, but those are often the exact things you need to hear. In the newsletter, I write to you the way I talk to men in my office, unfiltered, no restrictions, and every week I cover one specific topic. Something real, something practical, something that directly improves what happens between you and a woman. Things like what she actually wants to tell you about sex but doesn't know how. The specific things that make women want more from a man over 50. What's really going on in her body and her mind that she's never explained. Practical steps, real talk, no drugs, no supplements, no gimmicks. It's free to join, and you can leave anytime. The link is below this video. If what I said today resonated with you, if you felt even once while watching this that I was describing something you've carried privately for longer than you want to admit, then the newsletter is where we continue this conversation. I'll see you there, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourself